Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Sunlight spilled like liquid gold through floor-to-ceiling windows, warming Lily Carter's face as consciousness drifted back like a reluctant tide. The silk sheets beneath her fingertips whispered secrets of luxury she'd never known, too smooth, too perfect, too expensive to belong to her world. Her eyes opened to unfamiliar territory, and her heart thundered against her ribs. This wasn't her cozy apartment, with its sunny yellow walls and lovingly collected vintage furniture. This was a penthouse that could grace the covers of architectural magazines, all sculptural lines, designer pieces, and windows that framed the city like a living painting. The bed embracing her was vast, enough for a small family, wrapped in charcoal linens that probably carried a price tag exceeding her monthly rent. Terror closed her throat as fragmented memories from the previous night danced just beyond her grasp. Emma's bachelorette celebration, the exclusive nightclub with its hypnotic music and crystal cocktails, dancing until her borrowed heels became instruments of torture, and an emptiness, a void where crucial memories should reside. Lily's breath hitched as she discovered herself still wearing her midnight black cocktail dress, though it had twisted around her body like a silk tornado. Her strappy heels lay defeated on the marble floor beside the bed. Relief flooded through Hirsch, remained fully clothed. But mortification still burned through her bloodstream like molten metal. The sound of running water from what she assumed was an attached bathroom made her freeze. Someone else was here. Someone who owned this palace of glass and steel. Her mind raced through possibilities, each more horrifying than the last. The bathroom door opened, and steam billowed out like morning mist. Through it emerged a man who seemed to have stepped from the pages of a magazine himself. Tall and lean, with dark hair still damp from his shower. He wore a simple white t-shirt and dark jeans that somehow looked designer on his frame. When their eyes met, his expression shifted from casual morning routine to genuine concern. "You're awake," he said, his voice carrying a warmth that contradicted the awkwardness of the situation. "How are you feeling?" Lily sat up quickly, immediately regretting the sudden movement as her head spun. Where am I? Who are you? What happened last night?" The questions tumbled out in a rush, her voice unfamiliar to her own ears. The man raised his hands in a peaceful gesture, staying near the bathroom door to give her space. "I'm Ethan Harper. You're in my apartment, and before you panic, I want you to know that nothing happened between us." "Nothing at all? Nothing happened?" Lily's voice cracked with disbelief. "Then why am I in your bed? Why can't I remember anything?" Ethan moved slowly to a chair across the room, maintaining distance between them. His movements were careful, respectful, and somehow that made her feel both safer and more confused. "Your friend Emma was worried about you. You'd had quite a bit to drink, and you weren't feeling well. When she couldn't reach your roommate and you couldn't remember your address clearly, she asked if I could help." The kindness in his eyes was genuine, Lily realized, though the situation remained surreal. "You're saying you what? Rescued me?" "I wouldn't call it a rescue," Ethan said with a gentle smile. "Emma is actually a friend of my sister's. She knew I live nearby and that I don't drink much. When you started feeling sick, she was worried about getting you home safely. She asked if I could help, and of course, I said yes." Lily's memories began trickling back in fragments. Emma mentioning someone's brother who might give them a ride, the nauseating feeling in her stomach as the room spun, someone's strong arms supporting her, a voice telling her everything would be okay. "You brought me here and put me in your bed?" The question came out more accusatory than she intended. Ethan shook his head quickly. "I brought you here because it was the closest safe place, and you were really not well. But I slept in the guest room. I wanted to make sure you were okay throughout the night. You were pretty sick for a while there. I checked on you a few times, but I would never take advantage of someone in your condition, or any condition, for that matter." The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable, and Lily felt her panic beginning to subside, replaced by a different kind of mortification. "Oh God, did I throw up?" A gentle laugh escaped Ethan's lips. "You did, but don't worry about it. I've seen worse at college parties, trust me. I made sure you had water, got you some aspirin, and stayed nearby in case you needed anything." You mumbled a lot about missing some important meeting on Monday, so I figured you'd want to be somewhere safe to sleep it off. Monday. The word hit her like a lightning bolt. What time is it? What day is it? It's Sunday morning, about 9:30. You've got plenty of time to prepare for whatever that important Monday meeting is. Relief flooded through her, followed immediately by embarrassment, so acute it made her want to disappear into the expensive mattress. This beautiful, kind stranger had spent his Saturday night taking care of a drunk woman he didn't even know, and she'd repaid him by basically accusing him of assault. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice thick with shame. "I can't believe Emma must have been so worried, and you didn't have to do any of this. I'm mortified." Ethan leaned forward slightly, his expression earnest. "Hey, don't be sorry. We've all been there, well, maybe not exactly there, but you know what I mean. Emma was just being a good friend, and I was just being a decent human being. That's what people should do for each other." Lily studied his face, searching for any sign of deception or hidden motives, but found only warmth and honesty. He was genuinely one of those rare people who helped others without expecting anything in return. The realization made her feel even worse about her initial suspicions. "I should go," she said, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. "I've already imposed enough, and I'm sure you have things to do on your Sunday." "Actually," Ethan said, standing as well, "Emma left your purse and keys with me, but she took your phone to call your roommate and let her know you were safe. She said she'd bring it back this morning, but she hasn't arrived yet. Would you like some coffee while we wait? Or breakfast? You should probably eat something." The mention of food made Lily's stomach growl audibly, causing both of them to smile. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten, and her body was clearly demanding fuel. "I don't want to be any more trouble," she said hesitantly. "It's no trouble at all. I was going to make breakfast anyway. I make excellent French toast, if you're interested." Something about the way he said it, casual, friendly, without any undertones or expectations, made her nod before she could overthink it. "That actually sounds wonderful." As Ethan headed toward what she assumed was the kitchen, Lily caught her reflection in the mirrored closet doors and winced. Her dark hair was a tangled mess, her makeup smudged, and her dress looked like she'd slept in it, which, she supposed, she had. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who'd had too much to drink and spent the night in a stranger's bed. But as she heard Ethan humming softly in the kitchen, the sound of coffee brewing and pans clattering gently, she realized that despite the mortifying circumstances, she felt safe here. This beautiful stranger, Ethan Harper, had shown her kindness when she was vulnerable, and that wasn't something she encountered often in her experience. Looking out at the city spreading below his windows, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this morning, this encounter, would somehow be important. She didn't know how or why, but something told her that Ethan Harper wasn't going to be just an embarrassing story she'd eventually laugh about with Emma. Something told her this was just the beginning. Chapter 2. The Shocking Revelation. Monday morning arrived with the promise of new beginnings. Lily stood before her bathroom mirror, applying the final touches of her makeup with the precision of someone who understood the importance of first impressions. Today was the day she'd been working toward for months, her first day as senior marketing director at Harper Industries, one of the most prestigious companies in the city. Her reflection showed a woman transformed from the disheveled mess of Sunday morning. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek bun that showcased her elegant neck, and her navy blue power suit fit her curves perfectly while maintaining complete professionalism. The silver jewelry she'd chosen was understated but confident, and her makeup highlighted her natural beauty without being overdone. "You've got this, Lily Carter," she whispered to her reflection, adjusting the lapels of her blazer. "You earned this position. You belong here." The weekend's embarrassing encounter with Ethan Harper had been pushed firmly to the back of her mind. After Emma had retrieved her phone and they'd shared that surprisingly comfortable breakfast, Lily had managed to escape Ethan's penthouse with her dignity somewhat intact. He'd been a perfect gentleman throughout their entire interaction, even walking her down to ensure she got safely into her rideshare. She'd spent the rest of Sunday preparing for this moment, reviewing her portfolio, rehearsing her introduction, and mentally cataloging all the innovative campaigns she planned to propose. This job represented everything she'd worked for: the chance to lead a major marketing department, the salary that would finally allow her to move out of her cramped shared apartment, and the professional recognition she craved. Harper Industries occupied an entire gleaming tower in the heart of the business district. As Lily's heels clicked confidently across the marble lobby, she felt a surge of pride. The security guard directed her to the executive floor, where she was greeted by a woman with silver hair and kind eyes. "You must be Lily Carter," the woman said with a warm smile. "I'm Evelyn Reed, Mr. Papling's Harper's executive assistant. We're so excited to have you join our team." "Thank you, Mrs. Reed. I'm thrilled to be here," Lily replied, her voice steady and professional despite the butterflies dancing in her stomach. Evelyn led her through a maze of modern offices and conference rooms, each more impressive than the last. The entire floor radiated success and sophistication, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering spectacular views of the city. Employees they passed looked polished and purposeful, and Lily felt herself standing a little straighter, matching their energy. "Mr. Harper likes to personally welcome all new senior staff members," Evelyn explained, as they approached a set of imposing double doors made of dark wood and frosted glass. "He's quite hands-on with the important hires, which shows how much faith he has in your potential." Lily's heart rate quickened with anticipation. She'd researched the company extensively, but had never seen a clear photo of the CEO. She knew he was young for such a position, having inherited the company from his father and transformed it into an industry leader through innovation and strategic thinking. This meeting would set the tone for her entire tenure at the company. Evelyn knocked gently on the door, then opened it with a flourish. "Mr. Harper, I'd like you to meet our new senior marketing director, Lily Carter." The words that followed seemed to happen in slow motion. Lily stepped confidently into the office, her professional smile perfectly in place, her hand extended for a firm handshake. Her eyes traveled upward from the polished mahogany desk to the man rising from behind it, and her entire world came to a screeching halt. Ethan Harper, the same Ethan Harper who had rescued her from Emma's bachelorette party, the same Ethan Harper whose bed she had woken up in just 48 hours ago, the same Ethan Harper who had made her French toast and coffee while she wore yesterday's wrinkled dress and mascara-smudged makeup. The professional smile froze on her face as recognition dawned in his eyes as well. For a moment that felt like an eternity, they simply stared at each other across the expanse of his office. Evelyn continued speaking, something about Lily's impressive portfolio and innovative campaign strategies, but her words sounded like they were coming from underwater. Ethan recovered first, his expression shifting smoothly into professional neutrality. Though Lily caught the flash of surprise that had initially crossed his features, he stepped around his desk with the same measured grace she remembered from Sunday morning. "Miss Carter," he said, his voice carefully modulated, extending his hand toward her, "welcome to Harper Industries. I've been looking forward to meeting you." The word meeting hung in the air between them like a shared secret. Lily forced herself back into motion, accepting his handshake with what she hoped appeared to be professional composure. His hand was warm and steady, and she tried not to think about how those same hands had gently helped her when she was sick, bringing her water and making sure she was comfortable. "Mr. Harper," she managed, proud that her voice came out steady. "Thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to contribute to the company's continued success." Evelyn beamed at both of them, clearly pleased with what she perceived as an immediate rapport between the new hire and the CEO. "I'll leave you two to discuss Lily's integration into the team. Mr. Harper, shall I reschedule your 10 o'clock, or will this be brief?" "Please reschedule it," Ethan said, never taking his eyes off Lily. "I'd like to give Miss Carter my full attention this morning." After Evelyn closed the door behind her, silence settled over the office like a heavy blanket. Lily remained frozen in place, her mind racing through 1,000 implications while her body remained perfectly still. This couldn't be happening. This absolutely could not be happening. Ethan moved to the window, putting distance between them, and Lily noticed that he seemed as shaken as she felt, despite his professional exterior. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet and careful. "I had no idea," he said simply. "When we met on Saturday night, I had no idea you were Lily Carter, the marketing director we'd hired. Your portfolio never included a photo, and Emma never mentioned your last name." Lily found her voice, though it came out smaller than she intended. "I didn't know Harper Industries was your company. Emma just said her friend's brother might help us get home safely." She never mentioned that you were the CEO of the company I'd be starting at on Monday." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its perfect styling. "This is incredibly awkward." The word awkward didn't begin to cover it. Lily's mind was spinning with worst-case scenarios. Would he think she'd somehow orchestrated this? Would he question her qualifications? Would he assume she'd slept her way into the position, even though nothing had happened between them? "Mr. Harper," she began, then stopped, unsure how to proceed. The formal address felt strange after their informal breakfast conversation, but anything else seemed inappropriate given their current circumstances. "Ethan," he corrected gently, "we're going to be working closely together, and I think we've moved past strict formalities, don't you think?" His attempt at lightness helped ease some of the tension in her shoulders, but Lily remained on guard. "Ethan, I want you to know that I had absolutely no idea about any of this. I earned this position on my own merit." "I know that," Ethan said firmly, turning to face her fully. "Your portfolio spoke for itself. Your innovative campaigns for Peterson and Associates and the Turner Group were brilliant. Your strategic thinking and creative execution were exactly what we were looking for. This situation, whatever it is, doesn't change the fact that you're the best candidate we interviewed." Relief flooded through her, followed immediately by a new wave of anxiety. But what about the other employees? What if someone finds out about Saturday night? What if they think? "They won't find out unless we tell them," Ethan said, his voice steady and reassuring. "And there's nothing to find out, really. Nothing inappropriate happened. You needed help. I provided it. End of story." Lily looked around his office, taking in the awards on the walls, the photos of successful company ventures, the evidence of Ethan's professional accomplishments. This was her boss. This successful, attractive, kind man who had seen her at her absolute worst was now the person who would determine her professional future. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, the admission escaping before she could stop it. Ethan's expression softened. "Can I tell you something? I hired Lily Carter, the brilliant marketing strategist who revolutionized customer engagement for 3 major companies. That's who I need on my team. What happened this weekend doesn't change who you are professionally." His words were exactly what she needed to hear, and she felt her confidence beginning to return. She was good at her job, exceptional. Even she had worked too hard and come too far to let an embarrassing personal situation derail her career. "You're right," she said, straightening her shoulders. "I'm here to do a job, and I intend to do it well." Ethan smiled, and for a moment, she caught a glimpse of the kind man who had taken care of her when she was vulnerable. "I have no doubt you will. Shall we start over?" He extended his hand again, this time with a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "I'm Ethan Harper, CEO of Harper Industries. Welcome to the team, Miss Carter." Lily accepted his handshake, feeling her professional confidence returning in full force. "Thank you, Mr. Harper. I'm looking forward to making great things happen here." As their hands parted, both of them seemed to realize simultaneously that, despite their best intentions, nothing about their working relationship was going to be simple. Chapter 3. The Power Play. The following 2 weeks at Harper Industries passed in a blur of strategic meetings, campaign presentations, and the delicate dance of establishing herself as a formidable force in the marketing department. Lily threw herself into the work with an intensity that impressed even her most skeptical colleagues. She analyzed market trends until her eyes burned, crafted campaigns that made seasoned executives nod in approval, and transformed the department's approach to client engagement. Ethan maintained perfect professionalism throughout their interactions, treating her with the same respect and consideration he showed all senior staff. During meetings, he listened intently to her insights, challenged her ideas in ways that made them stronger, and consistently credited her contributions in front of the board. If anyone had observed their working relationship, they would have seen nothing but mutual professional respect. Yet, beneath the surface, Lily felt the constant undercurrent of their shared secret. Every time Ethan handed her a document, their fingers would brush, and she'd remember his gentle care when she'd been sick. When he smiled at her suggestions during presentations, she'd catch glimpses of the warmth he'd shown her over French toast in his kitchen. The memories created a tension that was both uncomfortable and oddly thrilling. Lily had just finished presenting her revolutionary social media campaign to the board when she overheard the conversation that would change everything. She was gathering her materials in the conference room when voices from the hallway drifted through the partially open door. "I'm telling you, Nathan, something's not right about Harper's new hire," came a woman's voice that Lily recognized as Clara from accounting. "Nobody gets promoted to senior marketing director that fast unless there's something else going on." "What do you mean?" The male voice belonged to Victor Langston, Ethan's longtime business rival and board member. Lily had met him briefly, a man in his 50s with Arctic eyes and a smile that never touched them. "Think about it," Clara continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Harper interviews dozens of candidates, then suddenly hires this woman nobody's ever heard of. And have you seen how he looks at her during meetings? There's definitely something personal going on there." Lily felt ice crystallize in her veins. She remained perfectly still, barely breathing, as the conversation continued. "You think Harper's sleeping with her?" Victor asked, and Lily could hear the predatory amusement in his voice. "I think Ethan Harper isn't as squeaky clean as everyone believes," Clara replied. "And I think Miss Carter got this job because she's warming his bed, not because she's qualified for it." "Fascinating," Victor mused. "Very fascinating indeed. You know, I've been searching for leverage to use against Harper in the Langston merger negotiations. This could be exactly what I need." Lily's hands trembled as she processed what she was hearing. They were talking about her as if she were nothing more than a corporate scandal waiting to happen. Worse, Victor was planning to use these fabricated rumors to damage Ethan's reputation and business dealings. "What are you going to do?" Clara asked. "I'm going to ensure the right people hear about Harper's unprofessional hiring practices," Victor said with satisfaction. "The board takes ethics violations very seriously, especially when they involve executive misconduct. This could be the ammunition I need to finally bring Ethan Harper to his knees." Their footsteps faded down the hallway, leaving Lily alone with her racing heart and growing fury. She had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, and proven herself too many times to have her reputation destroyed by malicious gossip. But what made her truly angry was the realization that Ethan's reputation was about to be destroyed because of her presence in his company. The unfairness of it all made her hands clench into fists. Ethan had been nothing but kind to her, both personally and professionally. He had rescued her from a humiliating situation, treated her with respect, and hired her based on her qualifications. Now he was going to pay for that kindness with his reputation and possibly his business. That afternoon, Lily requested a meeting with Ethan to discuss the upcoming Langston merger. As she sat across from him in his office, she studied his face, looking for any sign that he'd heard the rumors. His expression remained professionally neutral, but she noticed the slight tension around his eyes that hadn't been there before. "The Langston merger is crucial for our expansion into the European market," Ethan was saying, spreading documents across his desk. "If we can successfully acquire their distribution network, we'll be positioned to dominate the international market within 2 years." Lily nodded, forcing herself to focus on the business at hand while her mind raced with other concerns. "What's your biggest concern about the deal?" Victor Langston, Ethan admitted, with a slight frown. "He's been pushing for this merger for months, but I suspect he has ulterior motives. He's been trying to gain more influence over Harper Industries for years, and this merger would give him significant leverage." "Do you trust him?" Lily asked carefully. Ethan's laugh was humorless. "I don't trust Victor Langston as far as I can throw him, but the deal is too important to let personal feelings interfere. Sometimes you have to work with people you don't like to achieve your goals." Lily felt her heart sink. Ethan had no idea that Victor was already working against him, using her as ammunition. She wanted to warn him, but how could she explain that she'd overheard people discussing their supposed affair without admitting that rumors were spreading about them? "Ethan," she began hesitantly, "have you heard any talk around the office about my hiring?" His expression immediately became guarded. "What kind of talk?" "People questioning my qualifications, wondering why I was hired so quickly." She couldn't bring herself to mention the more personal implications. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Let me be clear about something, Lily. I hired you because you're brilliant, not because of any other reason. Anyone who suggests otherwise is either ignorant or malicious. But what if people don't see it that way? What if they think she trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. What if they think I hired you because of what happened that Saturday night? Ethan's voice was quiet but intense. Is that what you're worried about? Lily nodded, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. Ethan leaned forward, his eyes fierce with conviction. Then those people are wrong, and they can deal with the consequences of their assumptions. I won't let office gossip dictate how I run my company or whom I hire. His words should have been reassuring, but Lily could see the strain in his expression. The rumors were already affecting him, whether he wanted to admit it or not. She realized with growing certainty that Ethan's protective instincts would prevent him from publicly defending her in the way that might actually stop the gossip. He would try to handle it quietly, diplomatically, which would only make things worse. As she left his office that afternoon, Lily made a decision that would change everything. If Ethan wouldn't protect himself from Victor Langston's machinations, then she would have to do it herself. And if Victor wanted to use her as a weapon against Ethan, then she would show him exactly how dangerous that weapon could be. That evening, Lily sat in her apartment with her laptop, researching everything she could find about the Langston merger. If Victor thought he could destroy Ethan's reputation and business through gossip and innuendo, he was about to learn that Lily Carter was not the helpless victim he assumed her to be. She was a strategic mastermind who had built her career on understanding human psychology and market manipulation. She had the skills to destroy reputations, dismantle business deals, and turn public opinion on its head. She had simply never chosen to use those skills for destructive purposes until now. Victor Langston wanted to play dirty? Fine. Lily would show him exactly what dirty looked like when executed by someone who understood the art of destruction far better than he ever could. As she began crafting her strategy, Lily felt a dark satisfaction settling over her. Ethan had been kind to her, had treated her with respect and dignity when she was vulnerable. Victor had chosen to attack that kindness, to use her as a weapon against the man who had protected her. That had been Victor's first mistake. His second mistake was assuming that Lily Carter was just another pretty face who had slept her way to the top. By the time she was finished with him, Victor Langston would understand exactly who he had chosen to cross, and Ethan Harper would be free from the threat that Victor posed to his business and reputation. The irony wasn't lost on her that, in order to protect Ethan from the consequences of their weekend encounter, she would have to become the very thing the rumors accused her of being, a woman who used her intelligence and ruthless ambition to destroy powerful men. But if that's what it took to save Ethan from Victor's schemes, then that's exactly what she would become. The war had begun, and Lily Carter intended to win. Chapter 4. The Perfect Revenge. 3 weeks into her employment at Harper Industries, Lily Carter had undergone a complete metamorphosis. By day, she remained the consummate professional, attending meetings, presenting strategies, and earning the grudging respect of her colleagues through sheer brilliance. But by night, she transformed into something far more dangerous. A strategic mastermind orchestrating the downfall of Victor Langston. Her apartment had become a command center. The dining table disappeared beneath financial reports, competitor analyses, and detailed timelines of the Langston merger negotiations. Her laptop screen glowed well into the early morning hours as she researched, planned, and prepared for a campaign that would make her previous marketing successes look like amateur hour. The elegance of her plan lay in its surgical precision. She wouldn't need to fabricate evidence or spread false rumors. Victor Langston had provided her with everything she needed through his own arrogance and unethical business practices. All Lily had to do was expose the truth in the most devastating way possible. She began with the simplest move in her arsenal: intelligence gathering. During her regular marketing analysis meetings, she requested access to competitor research files, merger documentation, and financial projections. Her position as senior marketing director provided the perfect cover for her requests, and Ethan readily approved her access, impressed by her thoroughness in understanding the company's strategic position. "I want to ensure our marketing campaigns align perfectly with the merger timeline," she had explained to Ethan, her expression earnest and professional. "Understanding Langston Corp's market position will help me craft messaging that highlights the synergies we'll create." Ethan's smile had been genuine and approving. "Your attention to detail continues to impress me, Lily. That kind of strategic thinking is exactly why you're perfect for this role." The praise should have made her feel guilty about her deception, but instead, it strengthened her resolve. Ethan's faith in her abilities only reinforced how wrong Victor's accusations were and how important it was to protect Ethan from further attacks. Within a week, Lily had compiled a comprehensive dossier on Langston Corp that would have impressed a seasoned corporate spy. She knew about their declining European market share, their cash flow problems, and, most importantly, their desperate need for Harper Industries resources to avoid bankruptcy within the next 18 months. But the real treasure came when she discovered Victor Langston's personal financial troubles, hidden beneath layers of shell companies and creative accounting. Victor had been borrowing against Langston Corp's assets to fund his gambling addiction and lavish lifestyle. The merger wasn't just a business opportunity for him. It was a lifeline that would allow him to access Harper Industries' cash reserves and cover his mounting personal debts. Lily smiled as she reviewed the evidence she'd uncovered. Victor thought he was manipulating Ethan into a merger that would give him control over Harper Industries. In reality, he was a desperate man trying to save himself from financial ruin, and he was willing to destroy Ethan's reputation to achieve his goals. The second phase of her plan required more delicate maneuvering. Lily began strategically leaking information to Langston Corp's competitors, framing it as market research that Harper Industries was conducting publicly. She crafted anonymous tips to financial journalists about Langston Corp's unstable position, providing just enough detail to raise questions without revealing her sources. Her years of understanding consumer psychology and market manipulation served her perfectly. She knew exactly how to plant seeds of doubt that would grow into full-blown concerns about Langston Corp's viability. Within days, whispers began circulating through the financial community about potential red flags in the company's recent filings. The third phase was the most sophisticated, turning Victor's own tactics against him. Lily created a network of false personas on professional networking sites, each designed to seem like concerned industry insiders, sharing observations about the Harper-Langston merger. These fictional consultants and analysts began posting carefully crafted questions about the deal's wisdom, highlighting the exact concerns that would most worry Harper Industries board members. She timed each revelation perfectly, building momentum like a master conductor, orchestrating a symphony of destruction. Every piece of information she released was factual and verifiable, which made her campaign impossible to dismiss as mere rumor-mongering. She wasn't creating scandals. She was simply ensuring that existing scandals received the attention they deserved. Ethan began showing signs of strain as questions about the merger mounted. During their daily briefings, Lily watched him field increasingly concerned calls from board members and financial advisors. His jaw would tighten as he listened to reports about Langston Corp's declining stock price and the growing media attention surrounding Victor's business practices. "I don't understand how this information is getting out," Ethan confided to Lily one afternoon, running his hands through his hair in frustration. The due diligence reports were supposed to be confidential. Now every financial blogger in the city is speculating about Langston's stability. Lily maintained her expression of professional concern while internally marveling at the effectiveness of her campaign. Maybe it's better that these issues are coming to light now, before the merger is finalized. She suggested carefully, "If there are real problems with Langston Corp, wouldn't you want to know about them?" Ethan nodded grimly. "You're right, of course. But the timing is suspicious. Someone is definitely working against this deal, and I suspect it's one of our competitors trying to prevent us from expanding into the European market." If only he knew, Lily thought, that the person working against the deal was sitting across from him, motivated not by corporate rivalry but by the desire to protect him from Victor's manipulation. The fourth phase required Lily to take a more direct approach. She began attending the same networking events and industry conferences that Victor frequented, always staying in the background but carefully positioning herself to overhear his conversations. What she learned during these reconnaissance missions exceeded her wildest expectations. Victor was indeed spreading rumors about her relationship with Ethan, but he was also sharing confidential details about Harper Industries' strategic plans with his gambling associates, hoping to gain insider trading advantages. His desperation had made him reckless, and his recklessness had made him vulnerable. Lily documented everything: dates, locations, witnesses, and the specific information Victor had disclosed. She cross-referenced his gambling debts with the timeline of his confidential disclosures, building an airtight case for securities fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. The final phase of her plan was the most dangerous because it required her to personally interact with Victor at a charity gala that both Harper Industries and Langston Corp were sponsoring. Lily approached Victor with a strategy that would have made Machiavelli proud. "Mr. Langston," she said, appearing at his elbow while he nursed his third whiskey of the evening, "I don't believe we've been properly introduced. I'm Lily Carter, Harper Industries' new senior marketing director." Victor turned to study her with the calculating gaze of a predator, evaluating potential prey. "Ah, yes, Ethan's new acquisition." His tone made it clear that he wasn't referring to her professional skills. Lily smiled sweetly, though her eyes remained glacial. "I prefer to think of myself as Ethan's secret weapon. You'd be amazed at what I can accomplish when properly motivated." "Is that so?" Victor's interest was clearly piqued, and Lily could see him wondering if she might be useful in his schemes against Ethan. "Oh yes," Lily continued, moving closer and lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "For instance, I've become quite adept at gathering information that others might prefer to keep private. Market intelligence, personal financial details, private conversations. You'd be surprised what people reveal when they think no one important is listening." Victor's expression shifted from predatory interest to wary concern. "What are you suggesting, Miss Carter?" Lily's smile widened, becoming genuinely predatory. "I'm suggesting that you might want to be more careful about the conversations you have in public places, especially when they involve confidential business information or personal financial troubles. You never know who might be paying attention." She walked away before Victor could respond, leaving him standing alone with his whiskey and the sudden realization that his carefully laid plans might not be as secret as he'd believed. By the end of that evening, Lily had planted the seeds of paranoia that would consume Victor over the following weeks. He would spend his time looking over his shoulder, wondering what she knew and who else might be watching him, instead of focusing on his campaign against Ethan. As Lily reviewed her progress that night, she felt a satisfaction unlike anything she'd ever experienced in her legitimate marketing career. Every move had been calculated, every revelation perfectly timed, every psychological manipulation expertly executed. She had taken Victor's own weapons gossip, innuendo, and financial pressure and turned them against him with surgical precision. The Langston merger was already beginning to crumble under the weight of the scrutiny she had orchestrated. Victor's reputation in the financial community was unraveling as his past indiscretions came to light, and Ethan remained completely unaware that his salvation was being orchestrated by the woman he had rescued from an embarrassing situation just a month ago. Soon, Victor Langston would learn the price of underestimating Lily Carter, and Ethan Harper would be free from the threat that Victor posed, even if he never knew how close he had come to losing everything. The war was nearly won, and Lily had achieved victory without Ethan ever knowing a battle was being fought. Chapter 5. The Truth Unveiled. The morning that would shatter everything began like any other. Lily arrived at Harper Industries with her usual confidence, carrying her briefcase and the satisfaction of knowing that Victor Langston's world was continuing its carefully orchestrated collapse. Financial reporters had begun asking pointed questions about Langston Corp's stability, and 3 potential investors had already withdrawn from preliminary discussions about the merger. She was reviewing the latest market reports when Evelyn Reed appeared at her office door, looking uncharacteristically flustered. "Miss Carter, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Evelyn's usual composed demeanor seemed shaken, her kind eyes filled with concern. "Of course, Evelyn. Please, come in and close the door." Lily gestured to the chair across from her desk, immediately sensing that whatever Evelyn needed to discuss was serious. Evelyn sat down heavily, wringing her hands in a gesture that was completely unlike her normally poised behavior. "I don't quite know how to begin this conversation, dear. It's about something I overheard yesterday, and I feel I must tell someone, but I'm not sure if it's my place." Lily leaned forward, her attention fully focused. "What did you overhear, Evelyn?" "It was Victor Langston," Evelyn said, her voice dropping to a whisper despite the closed door. "He was on a phone call in the conference room yesterday afternoon, and I was bringing him some documents when I heard him talking about you and Mr. Harper." Lily's blood ran cold. What was he saying? Evelyn's expression was pained. "He was bragging to someone about how he'd been spreading rumors about your relationship with Mr. Harper. He said he'd convinced Clara from accounting to help him spread gossip about how you got your position, and that it was working perfectly to damage Mr. Harper's reputation with the board. The words hit Lily like physical blows. She had been so focused on her revenge campaign that she hadn't fully processed the implications of what she'd overheard weeks ago. Victor hadn't just been discussing existing rumors. He had been actively creating them. "There's more," Evelyn continued, her voice thick with emotion. "He said that Mr. Harper had been selected for some kind of investigation by the board. Something about ethical violations in hiring practices. Victor was laughing about it, saying that by the time he was finished, Ethan would be so distracted by the scandal that he wouldn't notice Langston Corp's real financial problems until it was too late to back out of the merger." Lily felt the world tilting around her. "Evelyn, are you absolutely certain about what you heard?" "I'm positive, dear. And there's something else you need to know." Evelyn reached into her purse and pulled out a manila folder. "After I heard that conversation, I did something I've never done in 30 years of working here. I went through Victor's files when he left the office." She handed Lily the folder with trembling hands. "These are copies of emails between Victor and Clara, and between Victor and several board members. The whole thing was planned, Lily. Victor orchestrated the rumors about you and Mr. Harper to create exactly the scandal he needed to pressure Ethan into the merger." Lily opened the folder with shaking hands, her eyes scanning the damning evidence. Email after email detailed Victor's manipulation, how he'd approached Clara with his suspicions about Ethan's inappropriate relationship with his new hire, how he'd suggested that concerned employees should voice their worries to board members, how he'd carefully planted seeds of doubt about Ethan's judgment and professionalism. But the worst revelation came in an email Victor had sent to his lawyer. "The Harper situation is proceeding flawlessly. By the time the board finishes their ethics investigation, Ethan will be so desperate to restore his reputation that he'll agree to any merger terms I propose." The Carter woman was the perfect catalyst, attractive enough to make the affair believable, new enough that no one questions her qualifications, and obviously smitten with Harper during meetings. The board is already asking questions about favoritism and inappropriate workplace relationships. Lily's hands were shaking so violently that she could barely hold the pages. Everything she thought she knew had been wrong. Ethan hadn't been protecting the company's reputation by staying silent about the rumors. He'd been protecting her. The investigation Evelyn mentioned meant that Ethan was facing serious professional consequences for something that had never happened. "Oh God," she whispered, the full weight of her mistake crashing over her. "Evelyn, does Ethan know about the board investigation?" Evelyn nodded sadly. "He's been meeting with investigators for the past week. He thinks he's been keeping it quiet to protect you from any embarrassment, but the whole senior staff knows something is happening. There are rumors that he might be forced to resign if the board determines that his judgment has been compromised." Lily felt physically ill. While she had been orchestrating Victor's downfall, Ethan had been suffering the consequences of Victor's lies in silence, trying to shield her from the scandal. Her brilliant revenge plan had been based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who was actually innocent and who was guilty. "There's one more thing," Evelyn said quietly. "I found this in the files as well." She handed Lily another document, a copy of Ethan's hiring recommendation for Lily, dated 3 weeks before Emma's bachelorette party. Lily read Ethan's words with growing emotion. Lily Carter represents exactly the kind of innovative thinking our marketing department needs. Her portfolio demonstrates not only creative excellence, but strategic depth that will be invaluable as we expand into new markets. Her campaign for the Turner Group shows an understanding of consumer psychology that is rare in professionals at any level. I recommend we make her an offer immediately before our competitors recognize her potential. The date stamp on the document was irrefutable proof that Ethan's interest in hiring her had nothing to do with their weekend encounter. He had chosen her based purely on her professional merits, exactly as he had claimed. "Evelyn," Lily said, her voice thick with emotion, "how long have you known about this?" "I suspected Victor was behind the rumors from the beginning," Evelyn replied. "But I only found the proof yesterday. I've watched that man try to undermine Mr. Harper for years, but this time he went too far. I won't stand by and watch him destroy a good man's reputation with lies." Lily closed her eyes, feeling the full weight of her catastrophic error. She had waged war against Victor Langston, but she had based that war on the assumption that Ethan was the target of unfair attacks. In reality, Ethan was not only the target, he was the victim, suffering real consequences while she played elaborate games of corporate espionage. "Evelyn," Lily said, standing up with sudden determination, "I need to see Ethan immediately, and I need you to prepare copies of everything in that folder. It's time to end this." Evelyn nodded, her expression relieved. "I was hoping you'd say that. Mr. Harper is in his office, and he's alone. Should I cancel his next appointment?" "Cancel all his appointments for the rest of the day," Lily said, clutching the folder of evidence against her chest. "We're going to fix this mess, starting right now." As Evelyn left to clear Ethan's schedule, Lily remained in her office, staring out at the city skyline and grappling with the magnitude of her miscalculation. She had thought she was protecting Ethan from Victor's attacks, but Ethan hadn't needed protection from Victor. He had needed protection from the consequences of Victor's lies. Now she would have to find the courage to confess not only Victor's crimes but her own misguided attempt at justice. She would have to tell Ethan that while he had been suffering in silence to protect her reputation, she had been waging a secret war based on incomplete information. The woman who walked toward Ethan's office that morning was no longer the confident strategist who had spent weeks orchestrating Victor Langston's downfall. She was someone humbled by the realization that intelligence without wisdom could be just as destructive as malice, and that the best intentions could lead to the worst outcomes when built on false assumptions. But she was also someone determined to make things right, no matter the cost to her own pride or position. Chapter 6: The Way to Victory. The walk from Lily's office to Ethan's felt like a journey toward her own judgment day. Each step echoed in the corridor, marking time until she would have to face the man she had inadvertently betrayed while trying to protect him. The folder of evidence felt like it carried the weight of her soul, each page a testament to her spectacular failure to understand the situation she had inserted herself into. She knocked on Ethan's door with knuckles gone white from gripping the folder too tightly. When his voice called for her to enter, she pushed open the door to find him standing at his window, gazing out at the city with the posture of a man carrying an impossible burden. "Lily," he said without turning around, his voice carrying a weariness she had never heard before. "Evelyn said you needed to see me urgently. Is everything all right with the Morrison campaign?" The question was so normal, so focused on work, that it made Lily's heart ache. Even in the midst of whatever crisis he was facing, Ethan's first concern was ensuring that the company's projects were running smoothly. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely steady, "we need to talk about Victor Langston, and about the rumors, and about what's really been happening here." Ethan turned from the window, and Lily was shocked by what she saw. His face was etched with exhaustion, his eyes shadowed with stress, and his usually immaculate appearance showed signs of sleepless nights and barely controlled anxiety. This was not the confident CEO she had been working with for the past month. This was a man under siege. "Lily, you don't need to concern yourself with office gossip," Ethan said, attempting to project his usual professional composure. "I've handled situations like this before, and I'll handle this one too. Your focus should be on your excellent work, not on whatever rumors people are spreading." The kindness in his voice, even while he was clearly suffering, made Lily feel physically ill. She moved to his desk and placed the folder on its surface with shaking hands. "Ethan, please sit down. What I have to tell you is going to change everything you think you know about what's been happening here." Something in her tone must have convinced him of the seriousness of the situation, because he moved to his chair and sat down, his eyes fixed on her face with growing concern. "I know about the board investigation," Lily said without preamble. "I know that Victor Langston has been spreading rumors about us, about my hiring, about our supposed relationship, and I know that you've been protecting me from the consequences while facing them yourself." Ethan's expression didn't change, but she saw his hands tighten slightly on the arms of his chair. "How did you find out about the investigation?" "Evelyn overheard Victor bragging about his success in manipulating the board. She brought me this." Lily opened the folder and spread the emails across Ethan's desk. "It's all here, Ethan. Every lie, every manipulation, every step of Victor's plan to destroy your reputation so he could force you into the Langston merger on his terms." Ethan leaned forward and began reading the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. Lily watched him process the evidence of Victor's betrayal. seeing the exact moment when the full scope of the manipulation became clear to him. "My God," Ethan whispered, his voice tight with controlled anger. He planned all of this, every rumor, every insinuation, every concerned employee who approached the board. He looked up at Lily, his eyes filled with a mixture of fury and something that looked like relief. None of it was real. None of the concerns about favoritism or inappropriate conduct were genuine. None of it, Lily confirmed. Victor needed a scandal to weaken your position, and our weekend encounter gave him the perfect foundation to build his lies on. He convinced Clara to spread gossip, manipulated board members into believing there were ethical violations, and then sat back while you suffered the consequences. Ethan stood abruptly and began pacing behind his desk, running his hands through his hair in agitation. "I can't believe I didn't see it. I was so focused on protecting you from the fallout that I never questioned whether the rumors themselves were manufactured." "That's because you're a good man," Lily said softly. "Victor was counting on your integrity to blind you to his lack of it." Ethan stopped pacing and looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "How long have you known about this?" The question she had been dreading hung in the air between them. Lily took a deep breath, knowing that the next few minutes would determine whether Ethan would ever be able to trust her again. "I've known pieces of it for weeks," she admitted. "I overheard Victor and Clara talking about the rumors early on, but I misunderstood what I was hearing. I thought you were somehow complicit in allowing the gossip to spread, that you were ashamed of our connection and unwilling to defend me properly." Ethan's expression shifted to one of hurt surprise. "You thought I was ashamed of you? I thought you were trying to distance yourself from me to protect the company's reputation," Lily said, her voice growing smaller with each word. "I didn't realize you were actually fighting the board behind closed doors to defend me. I didn't know about the investigation or the personal cost you were paying." "So what did you do?" Ethan asked, and there was something in his voice that suggested he already suspected the answer wouldn't be simple. Lily felt her courage failing her, but she forced herself to continue. "I decided to protect you the only way I knew how. I went after Victor." Ethan's eyes widened. "What do you mean you went after Victor?" "I mean I destroyed him," Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I used everything I knew about marketing, psychology, and strategic manipulation to systematically dismantle his credibility, expose his financial problems, and sabotage the Langston merger. I leaked information about Langston Corp's instability to competitors and journalists. I created false personas to spread concerns about the merger on professional networks. I turned his own tactics against him and watched his reputation crumble." The silence that followed her confession was deafening. Ethan stared at her with an expression of complete shock, as if he was seeing her for the first time. "You've been conducting a covert campaign against Victor Langston for weeks." Ethan's voice was carefully controlled, but Lily could hear the undercurrents of multiple emotions. "Yes," Lily admitted, "and it worked. Victor's financial problems are now public knowledge, the Langston merger is falling apart, and his credibility in the business community is destroyed. I accomplished everything I set out to do. Except," Ethan said slowly, "you were fighting the wrong battle entirely." The words hit Lily like physical blows. "Except that," she agreed, tears beginning to blur her vision. "While I was playing strategic games and feeling satisfied about my clever revenge, you were facing real consequences for something that never happened. You were enduring an ethics investigation, dealing with threats to your career, and suffering in silence to protect me from a scandal I could have helped you fight if I had just asked the right questions." Ethan sat back down heavily, his expression cycling through anger, hurt, and something that might have been admiration. "You single-handedly destroyed Victor Langston's business empire to protect me from rumors that he created in the first place. The irony isn't lost on me," Lily said bitterly. "I was so focused on being the brilliant strategist that I never stopped to consider that my information might be incomplete. I let my emotions and my pride drive me to do something that was completely unnecessary." "Not completely unnecessary," Ethan said quietly. "Victor was manipulating the board and threatening the company. He deserved to face consequences for his actions. But those consequences came at the wrong time and for the wrong reasons," Lily replied. "I was trying to save you from him when what you actually needed was proof that his accusations were false. Instead of helping you fight the lies, I went to war against the liar." Ethan was quiet for a long moment, studying the emails spread across his desk. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful rather than accusatory. "What you did was wrong, Lily. Not because Victor didn't deserve it, but because you made a unilateral decision about a situation you didn't fully understand. You let your assumptions guide your actions instead of seeking the truth." "I know," Lily whispered, the weight of her guilt crushing her. "But," Ethan continued, and there was something different in his voice now, "what you accomplished was extraordinary. The research, the strategy, the execution, it was brilliant and devastating. You dismantled a corrupt businessman and saved this company from a predatory merger. Even if that wasn't your intention." Lily looked up at him in surprise. "Are you saying you're not angry?" Ethan's laugh was humorless. "Oh, I'm angry. I'm furious that you didn't trust me enough to come to me with your concerns. I'm hurt that you thought I would abandon you to protect my own reputation. And I'm frustrated that you took such enormous risks without considering the potential consequences." He paused, his expression softening slightly. "But I'm also amazed by what you accomplished. The woman who could orchestrate Victor's downfall with such precision and creativity is exactly the kind of person I want on my team. The question is whether you want to be here, now that you know the truth about everything." Lily felt her heart racing as she processed his words. "What do you mean?" "I mean that the board investigation will end as soon as they see this evidence of Victor's manipulation. My reputation will be restored, the Langston merger will be cancelled, and Harper Industries will emerge stronger than before. But you'll have to live with the knowledge that your brilliant revenge was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who needed protecting from whom." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes intense and searching. "The question is whether you can forgive yourself for that mistake, and whether we can find a way to work together, knowing what we now know about each other's capabilities and intentions." Lily met his gaze, seeing not just the professional consequences of her actions but the personal ones as well. She had revealed herself to be someone capable of both extraordinary loyalty and devastating deception. The man sitting across from her now knew exactly how dangerous she could be when motivated by the wrong assumptions. But he was also offering her a chance at redemption, an opportunity to rebuild their relationship on a foundation of complete honesty, rather than hidden agendas and mistaken assumptions. "I want to make this right," Lily said finally. "All of it. I want to help you present this evidence to the board. And I want to find a way to earn back your trust." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then that's where we'll start, with the truth, and with the understanding that we both have a lot to learn about trusting each other with the whole story." As they began planning their presentation to the board, Lily felt the weight of her perfect victory settling around her like chains. She had won a war that should never have been fought, against an enemy who deserved to lose for reasons that had never existed. Now she would have to learn to live with the consequences of being exactly as brilliant and dangerous as she had always known herself to be. Chapter 7. Redemption and Truth. The week that followed Lily's confession became a crucible that would either forge a new understanding between her and Ethan or destroy any possibility of a future together. She threw herself into the work of redemption with the same intensity she had once applied to revenge, but now her motivation was pure. She wanted to save Ethan from the consequences of her misguided actions. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday morning, giving them 5 days to prepare a comprehensive presentation that would not only clear Ethan's name, but expose Victor Langston's manipulation completely. Lily worked 18-hour days, compiling evidence, cross-referencing documents, and building an airtight case that would leave no room for doubt about Victor's guilt or Ethan's innocence. But even as she worked to undo the damage Victor had caused, Lily couldn't ignore the other damage she had inflicted. The Langston merger was indeed collapsing, but the financial fallout was affecting innocent employees at Langston Corp. Who had nothing to do with Victor's schemes. The competitors who had benefited from her leaked information were now circling Langston Corp. Like vultures, and the company's stock price had plummeted to the point where a bankruptcy filing seemed inevitable. "I've destroyed more than just Victor," Lily confided to Ethan on Wednesday evening as they worked late in his office. "There are hundreds of employees at Langston Corp. Who are going to lose their jobs because of what I did." Ethan looked up from the legal documents he was reviewing, his expression thoughtful. "That's not entirely your fault, Lily. Victor's gambling debts and financial mismanagement would have brought down Langston Corp eventually. You just accelerated the timeline. But I accelerated it for the wrong reasons, Lily replied bitterly. I was so focused on punishing Victor that I didn't consider the collateral damage. Those employees don't deserve to suffer because their CEO is a manipulative criminal. Ethan set down his pen and studied her face. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that if I'm capable of destroying a company, I should be capable of saving one too, Lily said, her voice gaining strength as the idea took shape. What if we could find a way to acquire Langston Corp's assets and absorb their employees? We could preserve the jobs while eliminating Victor from the equation entirely. A hostile takeover? Ethan asked, raising an eyebrow. That would be expensive and complicated, especially given the current scrutiny around our business practices. Not hostile, Lily corrected. Strategic. We presented as Harper Industries stepping in to save Langston Corp from bankruptcy and protect the jobs of innocent employees. The optics would be perfect. Instead of looking like we're taking advantage of a competitor's misfortune, we'd be positioned as the company that values people over profit. Ethan's expression shifted from skeptical to intrigued. You want to turn your revenge into a rescue mission? I want to turn my mistake into an opportunity to do something right, Lily said firmly. I caused this situation, and I want to fix it properly, not just for us, but for everyone who got caught in the crossfire. The next 2 days became a whirlwind of financial analysis, legal consultation, and strategic planning. Lily worked with Ethan to develop a comprehensive acquisition proposal that would absorb Langston Corp's assets while preserving employment for their workforce. The plan was ambitious and complex, requiring careful coordination with banks, lawyers, and regulatory agencies. But as they worked together, something shifted in the dynamic between them. The professional respect that had always existed between them deepened into something more personal. Ethan began to see not just Lily's brilliant strategic mind, but her capacity for taking responsibility and making things right. Lily, in turn, witnessed Ethan's genuine concern for people affected by corporate decisions, his commitment to ethical business practices, and his ability to find opportunity in crisis. On Thursday night, as they finalized their presentation for the board meeting, Lily found herself alone with Ethan in his office after everyone else had gone home. The city lights twinkled beyond the windows, and the intimate atmosphere made it impossible to maintain purely professional boundaries. Ethan, she said quietly, I need to tell you something before tomorrow's meeting. He looked up from his laptop, his expression expectant. I need you to know that everything I did was motivated by my feelings for you. Lily continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. Not just respect or gratitude, but something deeper. I was falling in love with you, and the thought of Victor destroying your reputation made me lose all sense of perspective. Ethan's expression grew very still. Lily, I'm not telling you this to complicate things, she said quickly. I'm telling you because I want you to understand that my actions, however misguided, came from a place of caring about you. I couldn't bear the thought of watching you suffer for something that wasn't your fault. Ethan stood up slowly and walked around his desk to where she was sitting. When he reached her, he extended his hand to help her to her feet. Do you know what I've been thinking about this week? He asked, his voice soft but intense. I've been thinking about how you were willing to wage war against one of the most powerful men in the city to protect someone you barely knew. I've been thinking about how you took responsibility for your mistakes and immediately began working to fix them. And I've been thinking about how incredibly lucky I am to have someone like you in my life. Lily's heart began racing as she processed his words. What are you saying? I'm saying that I've been falling in love with you too, Ethan replied, his hands coming up to frame her face gently. From the moment I saw you in that conference room, trying to maintain your professional composure while your world was turning upside down. You were magnificent then, and you're even more magnificent now. Even after everything I've done? Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper. Especially after everything you've done, Ethan said firmly. The woman who could orchestrate Victor's downfall with such precision and then immediately begin working to save innocent people from the consequences is exactly the kind of person I want to spend my life with. When Ethan kissed her, it was with a passion that had been building for weeks beneath their professional interactions. Lily felt herself melting into his embrace, finally allowing herself to acknowledge the depth of her feelings for this man who had shown her kindness when she was vulnerable and forgiveness when she was wrong. They broke apart breathlessly, both knowing that they had crossed a line that would change everything between them. "What happens now?" Lily asked, her forehead resting against his. "Now we go into that board meeting tomorrow, and we tell them the truth," Ethan said, his voice filled with determination. "All of it. Victor's manipulation, your revenge, the Langston acquisition proposal, and the fact that, despite everything that's happened, I trust you more than anyone else in this company." "And after the meeting?" Lily asked. Ethan's smile was warm and full of promise. "After the meeting, we start building something together, something based on complete honesty and mutual respect, something that can withstand whatever challenges come our way." Friday morning arrived with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. The boardroom was packed with Harper Industries directors, legal counsel, and independent investigators who had been conducting the ethics review. Lily sat beside Ethan at the head of the table, the comprehensive presentation they had prepared spread out before them. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, his voice steady and confident, "we're here to address the allegations that have been raised about my conduct and the hiring of our senior marketing director, Lily Carter. What you're about to hear will shock you, but it will also demonstrate the importance of seeking truth rather than accepting assumptions." For the next 2 hours, Ethan and Lily presented their case with methodical precision. They showed the board Victor's emails detailing his manipulation campaign. They provided evidence of his financial crimes and securities fraud. They documented the timeline that proved Ethan had selected Lily for her position, based purely on professional merit weeks before they had ever met personally. But most importantly, they revealed Lily's revenge campaign in its entirety, holding nothing back about her methods or motivations. "I want to be completely transparent with this board," Lily said as she concluded her portion of the presentation. "I took actions that were ethically questionable and professionally risky. I allowed my personal feelings to cloud my judgment, and I made decisions based on incomplete information. I take full responsibility for those choices." The room was silent as the board members absorbed the full scope of what they had heard. Finally, the board chairman spoke. "Mr. Harper, Miss Carter, this is certainly the most unusual ethics investigation I've ever been involved in. We'll need time to review all this evidence and consider the implications, but I want to say that your transparency and willingness to accept responsibility is commendable." After the board members filed out, Lily and Ethan found themselves alone in the conference room, emotionally exhausted but relieved to have finally told the complete truth. "Whatever happens, we did the right thing," Ethan said, taking her hand in his. "We did," Lily agreed. "And whatever consequences come from this, we'll face them together." As they began packing up their presentation materials, both of them understood that they had not only survived the crisis Victor had created, they had emerged from it stronger, more honest, and more committed to each other than ever before. The revenge was complete, but more importantly, the redemption had begun. Chapter 8: Forgiveness and Fire. The aftermath of the board meeting created a strange, suspended reality where Lily and Ethan existed in limbo, waiting for the directors to render their verdict while trying to navigate the new emotional landscape they had created for themselves. The board had taken the weekend to deliberate, leaving both of them to wrestle with the implications of their confessions, both professional and personal. Monday morning brought an unexpected development. Instead of a decision from the board, they received news that Victor Langston had disappeared. His lawyer reported that Victor had liquidated his personal assets over the weekend and left the country, apparently fleeing to avoid the criminal charges that were inevitably coming his way. Langston Corp had officially filed for bankruptcy, leaving hundreds of employees facing unemployment. "He's gone," Ethan said, looking up from the legal documents that had been delivered to his office. Victor liquidated everything he could and ran. Lily felt a complex mixture of satisfaction and hollow victory. "So my revenge is complete? Victor lost everything and destroyed himself in the process? Is that how you feel about it?" Ethan asked, studying her expression carefully. "Satisfied? I should feel satisfied," Lily replied, sinking into the chair across from his desk. "Victor got exactly what he deserved. But instead, I just feel empty, like I won a game that wasn't worth playing." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's because revenge is never as fulfilling as people expect it to be. Justice might bring peace, but revenge usually just leaves you questioning whether the cost was worth it." Their conversation was interrupted by Evelyn's arrival with more urgent news. "Mr. Harper, the board chairman is here to see you and Miss Carter. He said it's important." Within minutes, they were sitting across from Chairman Thompson, a distinguished man in his 70s who had guided Harper Industries through multiple decades of growth and challenge. After extensive deliberation, Chairman Thompson began. "The board has reached several conclusions. First, the ethics charges against you, Ethan, are dismissed entirely. The evidence of Victor Langston's manipulation is overwhelming, and it's clear that no impropriety occurred in Miss Carter's hiring or in your subsequent professional relationship." Relief flooded through both of them, but Chairman Thompson wasn't finished. "However," he continued, "the board has serious concerns about the vigilante actions taken by Miss Carter. While we understand her motivations, we cannot overlook the fact that she conducted unauthorized intelligence gathering and engaged in what amounts to corporate sabotage, regardless of the target's guilt." Lily's heart sank as she realized the board's dilemma. She had saved Ethan's reputation, but potentially destroyed her own career in the process. "That said," Chairman Thompson added, "Miss Carter's actions also prevented Harper Industries from entering into what would have been a disastrous merger with a criminally compromised company. Her intelligence gathering, while ethically questionable, may have saved us millions of dollars and protected our shareholders from significant losses." Ethan leaned forward. "What is the board's decision regarding Miss Carter's employment?" "The board has decided to issue a formal reprimand to Miss Carter for her unauthorized actions, but we will not terminate her employment. However, we are requiring that she undergo ethics training and that her future activities be subject to additional oversight." Chairman Thompson looked directly at Lily. "We believe that someone with your strategic capabilities can be an enormous asset to this company, provided you learn to channel those capabilities through proper channels." After Chairman Thompson left, Lily and Ethan found themselves alone again, processing the mixed victory they had achieved. "A reprimand and ethics training," Lily said with a wry smile. "I suppose that's better than unemployment and criminal charges." "You're not happy," Ethan observed, noting the tension in her voice. "I should be grateful," Lily replied. "But I can't shake the feeling that this entire situation has revealed something about me that I don't like. I'm capable of things I never thought I'd do, and I'm not sure how to reconcile that with who I thought I was." Ethan stood up and moved to the window, his back to her as he spoke. "That's what I've been struggling with too, not who you are, but what it means for us." The words hung in the air between them, carrying implications that neither had fully addressed since their kiss on Friday night. "What do you mean?" Lily asked. Though she suspected she already knew, Ethan turned to face her, his expression conflicted. "I mean that I've fallen in love with someone who is capable of systematically destroying another person's life when she believes it's justified. Someone who can lie, manipulate, and wage psychological warfare with frightening effectiveness. And that scares you," Lily said quietly. "It terrifies me," Ethan admitted. "Not because I think you'd ever hurt me, but because I've never been involved with someone who has that kind of power. The woman I'm in love with could ruin me completely if she ever decided I deserved it." Lily felt as if he had slapped her. "Is that really what you think of me? That I'm some kind of threat to you?" "I think you're the most dangerous person I've ever met," Ethan said, his voice intense. "And I think I'm more attracted to you because of it, not despite it." The admission seemed to surprise him as much as it surprised her. They stared at each other across the office, the air crackling with tension that was part fear, part desire, and part recognition of something neither had expected to find. "I don't know how to have a relationship with someone when I can't predict what they're capable of," Ethan continued, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "And I don't know how to be with someone when I've shown them the worst parts of myself," Lily replied. "Someone who's seen me be vindictive and manipulative and ruthless." "But you were all of those things to protect me," Ethan said, taking a step closer to her. "You were willing to become someone you didn't like in order to save someone you cared about. That's not the worst part of yourself, Lily. That's the most extraordinary part." The space between them seemed to be shrinking without either of them consciously moving. Lily could feel the heat radiating from Ethan's body, could see the conflict and desire warring in his expression. "I don't know if I can trust myself with you," she whispered. "I don't know if I can trust myself not to make the same kinds of mistakes, if I think you're being threatened." And I don't know if I can handle being with someone who makes me feel completely out of control, Ethan replied, his hands coming up to frame her face. Someone who makes me want to throw away every professional boundary I've ever maintained. This is insane, Lily breathed, but she didn't pull away from his touch. Completely insane, Ethan agreed. And then he was kissing her with a desperation that spoke of weeks of suppressed desire and emotional turmoil. This kiss was nothing like their gentle first kiss on Friday night. This was fire and need, and the acknowledgement that whatever existed between them was too powerful to be contained by rational thought or professional boundaries. Lily felt herself responding with equal intensity, her hands fisting in Ethan's shirt as she pulled him closer. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard and staring at each other with a mixture of desire and uncertainty. "We can't do this here," Ethan said, his voice rough with barely controlled passion. "We shouldn't do this anywhere," Lily replied. But her words lacked conviction. "Probably not," Ethan agreed, "but I don't think that's going to stop us." "What are we doing, Ethan?" Lily asked, her voice vulnerable in a way it rarely was. "I think we're falling in love with each other, despite every rational reason why we shouldn't," Ethan replied. "I think we're discovering that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is also the most necessary." "And if this destroys us both?" Lily asked. Ethan's smile was both tender and fierce. "Then at least we'll have destroyed each other honestly." The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of stolen glances and carefully maintained professional facades, but beneath the surface, both of them were acutely aware of the shift that had occurred between them. They had moved beyond the realm of professional attraction into something far more complex and potentially devastating. When the workday finally ended, Ethan found Lily in her office, packing up her briefcase with movements that were too controlled to be natural. "Have dinner with me," he said without preamble. "Ethan, I don't think." "Not at a restaurant," he interrupted. "At my place, where we can talk honestly without worrying about who might be watching or listening." Lily looked up at him, seeing the invitation for what it really was, a chance to explore what existed between them away from the complications of their professional lives. "Are you sure that's wise?" she asked. "Nothing about this is wise," Ethan replied. "But I think we're past the point of making decisions based on wisdom." An hour later, Lily found herself standing in Ethan's penthouse kitchen, watching him prepare dinner with the same focused intensity he brought to everything else. The domestic intimacy of the moment was almost overwhelming after the emotional intensity of the day. "This feels surreal," she said, accepting the glass of wine he offered her. "Which part?" Ethan asked. "The fact that we're having dinner in the same place where this all started, or the fact that we're both pretending this is just a casual meal between colleagues? The fact that a month ago I woke up in your bed as a stranger, and now I'm standing in your kitchen as someone you're afraid to trust but can't seem to resist," Lily replied. Ethan's laugh was short and humorless. "When you put it like that, it sounds like the premise for a psychological thriller." "Maybe it is," Lily said softly. "Maybe we're both too damaged and too dangerous for this to work." Ethan set down his wine glass and moved to stand directly in front of her. "Or maybe we're exactly what each other needs. Someone who understands that love isn't always safe or simple or predictable." "Is that what this is?" Lily asked, her heart racing. "Love? I think it's the beginning of love," Ethan replied, his hands coming up to cup her face gently. "Complicated, terrifying, impossible love that's going to challenge everything we think we know about ourselves." When he kissed her this time, it was with the recognition that they were both choosing to step into unknown territory together, despite the risks and uncertainties that lay ahead. As the city lights twinkled beyond the windows of Ethan's penthouse, both of them understood that they had moved irrevocably beyond the point of no return. Chapter 9. Building Together. 3 weeks had passed since Ethan and Lily's evening in his penthouse, and their relationship had evolved into something that defied easy categorization. Professionally, they maintained perfect boundaries, focused, strategic, and increasingly effective as partners. Personally, they had begun exploring the complex emotional territory between them with the same intensity they brought to everything else. The Harper Industries acquisition of Langston Corp's assets was proceeding smoothly. With over 400 former Langston employees being absorbed into Harper's expanded operations, the business community had praised Ethan's handling of the situation, positioning him as a leader who put people before profit margins. Lily's role in both creating and resolving the crisis remained their shared secret, known only to the board and a few trusted advisors. But Victor Langston, it seemed, was not finished with them. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning when Evelyn rushed into Ethan's office with an expression of barely controlled panic. "Mr. Harper, you need to see this immediately," she said, thrusting a tablet toward him. "It just went live on every major financial news site." Ethan's face went pale as he read the headline. "Corporate Espionage, Scandal Rocks, Harper Industries. Leaked Documents, Reveal Systematic Sabotage Campaign." Lily, who had been reviewing marketing projections at Ethan's conference table, moved quickly to look over his shoulder. What they saw made her blood run cold. The article contained detailed information about her revenge campaign against Victor Langston, but with a crucial twist. The leaked documents painted her actions not as misguided personal vengeance, but as a calculated corporate espionage operation authorized by Ethan himself. Email exchanges had been fabricated, showing Ethan directing Lily to neutralize the Langston threat by any means necessary. Financial records had been doctored to suggest that Harper Industries had paid Lily bonuses for her special projects. "This is impossible," Lily breathed. "These documents are completely fabricated." "Not completely," Ethan said grimly, scrolling through the leaked materials. "Some of these are real documents from your investigation, but they've been altered and presented completely out of context. Someone with access to our internal systems created this." Evelyn's voice was tight with worry. "The SEC has already announced they're opening an investigation into corporate espionage allegations. 3 major clients have called to express concerns about continuing their contracts with us." Ethan stood abruptly, his expression shifting into the focused intensity that Lily had learned to recognize as his crisis management mode. "Evelyn, cancel all my appointments for the day. Get our legal team on the phone immediately, and schedule an emergency board meeting for this afternoon." After Evelyn left, Ethan turned to Lily with an expression that was equal parts fury and determination. Victor may have fled the country, but he clearly left behind a carefully planned final attack. This has his fingerprints all over it. "How?" Lily asked, her mind racing through the implications. "Victor didn't have access to our internal systems." "No, but he's had weeks to plan this while we thought he was in hiding. He must have recruited someone inside the company, someone with access to confidential documents." Ethan moved to his computer and began pulling up employee access records. "Someone who could doctor real documents and plant them in our systems." Lily felt a familiar surge of strategic thinking, but this time it was tempered by the lessons she had learned about acting on incomplete information. "Ethan, before we start investigating our own employees, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Can I see all the leaked documents?" For the next 2 hours, they analyzed every piece of fabricated evidence with the systematic thoroughness of forensic investigators. Lily's experience in information manipulation allowed her to identify exactly how the documents had been altered, while Ethan's knowledge of the company's systems helped them trace the digital fingerprints left behind. "Here," Lily said, pointing to metadata in one of the fabricated emails. "This document was created last week, but it's dated 3 months ago. Whoever did this was skilled, but not skilled enough to completely hide the evidence of manipulation." Ethan nodded, highlighting another inconsistency. "And this financial record shows authorization codes that didn't exist until after Victor had already left the company. The forger made mistakes. The question is whether we can prove the forgery before the damage becomes irreversible." Lily said, "The financial markets have already started reacting. Our stock price dropped 12% in the last 2 hours. Ethan's expression was grim, but determined. "Then we don't have time for a lengthy investigation. We need to identify the inside source and expose this as a fabrication before the SEC investigation gains momentum." Lily stood up and began pacing, her mind working through possibilities with the speed and precision that had made her such a formidable strategist. "Ethan, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Tell me, what if we use Victor's own tactics against him? We know this is a setup, and we know someone inside the company is helping him. Instead of trying to prove our innocence through traditional means, what if we trap the insider into revealing themselves?" Ethan's expression grew wary. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we give the insider false information and see how it gets used," Lily said, her voice gaining confidence as the plan took shape. "We create a fake document that appears to contain damaging information about our response to this crisis, but actually contains subtle markers that would identify anyone who leaks it. You want to set a trap using fabricated evidence," Ethan said slowly. "That sounds remarkably similar to what got us into this mess in the first place." Lily stopped pacing and faced him directly. "The difference is that this time we're doing it together, with full knowledge of the risks and implications. And we're not acting on assumptions. We know for certain that someone is working against us." Ethan was quiet for a long moment, considering the proposal. Finally, he nodded. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to trust me," Lily said simply, "and I need you to help me create something that looks authentic enough to fool whoever is feeding information to Victor." They spent the afternoon crafting their trap with the meticulous care of master strategists. The document they created appeared to be Ethan's private strategy memo for responding to the espionage allegations, complete with plans to eliminate evidence and neutralize witnesses. In reality, the document contained hidden digital markers and fictional details that would immediately identify anyone who leaked it. Ethan distributed the fake memo to a carefully selected group of senior employees, each receiving a slightly different version with unique identifying markers. If any version was leaked, they would know exactly who was responsible. "Now we wait," Lily said as they finished implementing their plan. "How long do you think it will take?" Ethan asked. "If our insider is working with Victor, probably less than 24 hours. Whoever is doing this is motivated by urgency. They want to destroy us before we can mount an effective defense." That evening, Lily found herself back in Ethan's penthouse, but this time the atmosphere was charged with strategic energy rather than romantic tension. They had ordered takeout and spread their computers and documents across his dining table, creating a war room overlooking the city lights. "I keep thinking about what you said earlier," Ethan said, as they reviewed the latest news coverage of the scandal, about us doing this together instead of making unilateral decisions. "What about it?" Lily asked, not looking up from her laptop. "I realize that this is the first crisis we've faced where we're completely honest with each other from the beginning. No hidden agendas, no misunderstandings about motivations or intentions." Lily did look up then, seeing something in Ethan's expression that made her heart skip. "And how does that feel?" "Like we're unstoppable," Ethan replied, his voice carrying a conviction that sent shivers down her spine. "Like we can handle anything as long as we're facing it together." The words hung in the air between them, loaded with implications that went far beyond their current crisis. Lily felt something shifting inside her, a recognition that what existed between them had evolved into something deeper than attraction or even love. They had become true partners, capable of facing any challenge as long as they faced it together. Their moment of emotional connection was interrupted by Ethan's phone buzzing with an urgent message. "It worked," he said, reading the notification with a mixture of satisfaction and anger. "Our fake memo was just posted on the same financial blog that published the original leak, and the version that was leaked has Clara's unique identifier, Clara from accounting," Lily said grimly. "The same Clara who helped Victor spread the original rumors about us. She's been working with him all along." Ethan confirmed, "which means we now have proof that this entire scandal is fabricated, and we have evidence of who's responsible for the internal security breach." They worked through the night, preparing a comprehensive response that would not only clear their names but expose the full scope of Victor's final assault on Harper Industries. By dawn, they had assembled irrefutable evidence of the document fabrication, the insider collaboration, and Victor's ongoing campaign of corporate sabotage. The emergency board meeting that morning was unlike anything in Harper Industries' history. Ethan and Lily presented their case with the precision of seasoned prosecutors, laying out the evidence of Victor's manipulation with devastating clarity. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan concluded, "what we're dealing with is not a corporate espionage scandal, but a sophisticated character assassination attempt by a man who fled the country to avoid criminal prosecution. Miss Carter and I have not only exposed this fabrication, but we've identified and documented the internal security breach that made it possible." Chairman Thompson looked around the table at his fellow board members before speaking. "Mr. Harper, Miss Carter, this presentation has been extraordinary. The evidence you've compiled is comprehensive and compelling. I believe I speak for the entire board when I say that we have complete confidence in your integrity and your leadership." After the board members filed out, Ethan and Lily found themselves alone in the conference room, emotionally drained but victorious. "We did it," Lily said softly. "We actually did it." "We did," Ethan agreed, then turned to face her with an expression of profound gratitude and something deeper. "Lily, I want you to know that what we accomplished here goes far beyond clearing our names or saving the company." "What do you mean?" Ethan moved closer to her, his hands coming up to frame her face gently. "I mean that we've proven that we can be partners in every sense of the word, professional partners, strategic partners." And he paused, searching for the right words. "And personal partners," Lily finished softly. "I want to offer you something," Ethan said, his voice carrying a weight that suggested this was a moment that would define their future. "I want to offer you a full partnership in Harper Industries, not just as an employee or even as a senior executive, but as an equal partner with shared ownership and decision-making authority." Lily's breath caught. "Ethan, that's recognition of what you've already become," Ethan continued. "You've saved this company twice now. Once from Victor's predatory merger, and once from his final attack. You've proven that you're not just brilliant at marketing, but brilliant at strategy, crisis management, and leadership." "And personally?" Lily asked, her heart racing. Ethan's smile was warm and full of promise. "Personally, I'm asking you to be my partner in building something extraordinary. An empire based on mutual respect, shared power, and the kind of love that makes both people stronger." As Lily looked into Ethan's eyes, she realized that this was the moment she had been unconsciously working toward since that first morning in his penthouse. Not just professional success or personal happiness, but the opportunity to build something meaningful with someone who valued her strength rather than being threatened by it. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes to all of it." When Ethan kissed her this time, it was with the joy of two people who had found their perfect match, not despite their complexities and capabilities, but because of them. Chapter 10, Empire of Love. 6 months later, Harper Industries had not only recovered from the Victor Langston scandal, but had emerged as the most influential and respected company in the industry. Under the joint leadership of Ethan Harper and Lily Carter, now officially listed as co-CEO and partner, the company had expanded into 3 new markets, acquired 2 major competitors, and been featured on the cover of Forbes as the power partnership that's reshaping corporate America. But tonight, as Lily stood in the mirror of Ethan's penthouse bedroom, their bedroom now adjusting her stunning emerald green gown, her mind wasn't on corporate achievements. Tonight was the company's annual celebration, marking not just another successful year, but the public celebration of the partnership that had transformed both their lives and their business. "You look breathtaking," Ethan said from the doorway, his voice carrying the same wonder and desire that had been present since their first honest conversation months ago. Lily turned to face him, her breath catching as it always did when she saw him in formal attire. Ethan wore his tuxedo like he wore everything else, with natural elegance and quiet confidence that made her heart race even after all this time. "We clean up well for a couple of corporate warriors," she said with a smile that held both love and mischief. Ethan crossed the room to stand behind her, his hands settling on her waist as they both looked at their reflection in the mirror. "Do you ever think about how different things would have been if I hadn't brought you here that first night?" "Never," Lily said firmly, leaning back against his chest. "Because I believe we would have found each other eventually. Some connections are inevitable. Even if one of those connections involves systematic corporate sabotage," Ethan asked with the dry humor that had become one of her favorite things about him. "Especially then," Lily replied, turning in his arms to face him. "Anyone can fall in love during easy times. It takes something special to fall in love while committing strategic warfare against mutual enemies." Ethan's laugh was rich and genuine. "Only you would consider corporate espionage a romantic bonding experience. Only you would fall in love with someone capable of corporate espionage," Lily countered, reaching up to adjust his bow tie with unnecessary attention to detail. "Lily," Ethan said softly, his hands coming up to still her fidgeting fingers. "Before we go downstairs to the celebration, there's something I want to ask you." Something in his tone made her look up sharply, and she was surprised to see nervousness in his expression and emotion she rarely witnessed in Ethan Harper. "What is it?" she asked. Instead of answering immediately, Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. Lily's heart stopped beating as he dropped to one knee in their bedroom, the same room where their journey had begun in confusion and embarrassment. "Lily Carter," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "6 months ago, you woke up in my bed as a stranger who would change my life forever. You've been my partner in crisis, my equal in strategy, and my match in every way that matters." Lily felt tears beginning to gather in her eyes as Ethan opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring that somehow managed to be both elegant and bold, exactly like their relationship. "You've shown me that true partnership means supporting each other's strength, not diminishing it. You've proven that love can be powerful and passionate and still be built on complete trust and respect." Ethan's voice grew stronger with each word. "I don't want to just be your business partner or your lover. I want to be your husband, your equal, and your ally in building an empire that belongs to both of us." Lily was crying now, tears of joy streaming down her face as she processed the perfect symmetry of this moment. "Ethan, will you marry me, Lily Carter? Will you be my wife and my partner in creating something extraordinary together?" "Yes," Lily whispered, then said it louder with all the conviction in her heart. "Yes, absolutely yes." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger with hands that shook slightly with emotion, then stood to capture her lips in a kiss that was passionate enough to make them both forget they had a party to attend. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard and slightly disheveled, Lily looked down at the ring sparkling on her finger and felt a completion she hadn't known she was missing. "How long have you been planning this?" she asked. "Since the moment you confessed to your revenge campaign," Ethan admitted with a sheepish smile. "I realized that any woman who would wage war to protect someone she loved was someone I wanted to spend my life with." "Even though I nearly destroyed everything we've built?" Lily asked. "Especially because of that," Ethan said firmly. "You taught me that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is also the most necessary. Loving you has been dangerous from the beginning, and it's been the best decision I've ever made." An hour later, they entered the ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel, where 300 guests, employees, clients, business leaders, and friends had gathered to celebrate Harper Industries' unprecedented success. The room was decorated in gold and black, with dramatic lighting that made everything look like a scene from a movie. But as they made their way through the crowd, accepting congratulations and exchanging pleasantries, Lily was acutely aware that this wasn't just a corporate celebration. This was a declaration of victory over everyone who had doubted them, questioned their partnership, or tried to destroy what they had built together. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan said when they reached the stage, his voice carrying easily through the sound system, "thank you all for joining us tonight to celebrate not just another successful year, but the partnerships that make extraordinary achievements possible." The crowd quieted, sensing that something significant was about to happen. 6 months ago, Harper Industries faced the greatest crisis in its history. Ethan continued. "We were attacked by people who thought they could destroy us through lies, manipulation, and betrayal. But what our enemies didn't understand is that partnerships built on mutual respect and shared strength are impossible to break." Lily watched the faces in the crowd, seeing employees who had weathered the storm with them, clients who had stood by them during the scandal, and competitors who now viewed Harper Industries with a mixture of respect and wariness. "Tonight, I want to publicly acknowledge the woman who has not only been my business partner, but who has shown me what it means to find your perfect match in every sense of the word." Ethan turned to Lily, his expression filled with love and pride. "Lily Carter didn't just save our company. She transformed it. Under our joint leadership, we've achieved things that neither of us could have accomplished alone." The applause was thunderous, but Ethan raised his hand for silence. "But more than that," he continued, his voice carrying a warmth that made several people in the audience smile knowingly, "Lily has shown me that the best partnerships are built on truth, trust, and the willingness to fight for each other, no matter what challenges arise." Ethan reached for Lily's hand, lifting it so that the diamond ring caught the light and sparkled visibly. "Which is why I asked her to marry me tonight, and why I'm thrilled to announce that she said yes." The ballroom erupted in cheers and applause as Ethan pulled Lily into his arms for a kiss that was both tender and triumphant. When they separated, Lily stepped forward to the microphone. "Thank you," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the room. When I joined Harper Industries, I thought I was just starting a new job. I had no idea I was beginning the greatest adventure of my life." She looked out at the sea of faces, some friendly, some curious, all attentive. "Ethan and I have learned that true partnership isn't about one person being stronger than the other. It's about two people making each other stronger. We've faced challenges that could have destroyed us, made mistakes that could have ruined us, and overcome obstacles that seemed impossible." Lily's voice grew stronger and more passionate as she spoke. "But we've also discovered that when two people are completely honest with each other, completely committed to each other's success, and completely willing to fight for what they've built together, there's nothing they can't accomplish." She turned to look at Ethan, her eyes shining with love and determination. "Ethan Harper is not just my fiancé and my business partner. He's my equal, my match, and my ally in building something that will last forever. Together, we're not just running a company. We're creating an empire built on love, respect, and the belief that the most powerful thing in the world is two people who make each other stronger." The applause that followed was deafening, but Lily barely heard it. All her attention was focused on Ethan, whose expression told her everything she needed to know about their future together. As the evening continued around them with dancing, toasts, and celebrations that would be talked about for years, Lily and Ethan found themselves on the hotel's terrace, looking out at the city lights that sparkled like promises of everything they would build together. "Any regrets?" Ethan asked, his arms around her as they swayed gently to the music drifting from the ballroom. "About which part?" Lily asked with a laugh. "The corporate espionage, the systematic destruction of your business rival, or agreeing to marry you?" "Any of it. All of it." Lily was quiet for a moment, considering the question seriously. "No regrets," she said finally. "Every mistake, every crisis, every moment of doubt led us to this. I wouldn't change anything, because changing anything might have meant we never found each other." "Even the part where you woke up in my bed as a complete stranger?" Ethan asked. "Especially that part," Lily said, rising on her toes to kiss him softly. "That's where our empire began. With a woman who needed rescuing, and a man who was kind enough to help her. Even though he had no idea she would end up conquering his entire world." "I think we conquered each other's worlds," Ethan corrected gently. "Even better," Lily agreed. As they danced under the stars, surrounded by the evidence of their success and the promise of their future, both Lily and Ethan understood that they had created something rare and precious. A partnership built on equal strength, mutual respect, and a love powerful enough to transform not just their lives, but everything they touched. Their empire of love was just beginning, and together, they were unstoppable. The woman who had once woken up in a stranger's bed as an embarrassed accident had become the queen of her own destiny, ruling alongside the man who had shown her that true power was meant to be shared. And as the city sparkled below them like a kingdom waiting to be claimed, Lily Carter and Ethan Harper began planning the next chapter of their extraordinary love story. Some empires are built on conquest, others are built on love. Theirs would be built on both.